I would like to share with you how I see few recent events in light of Sri Ramakrishna's teaching. Recently, we were harshly hit by the series of calamities and devastation. The impact is still raw. First came the drought, and it prolonged. Rivers and bushlands dried, farmers faced tremendous harshness. Their wells ran out of water, unable to grow crops, unable to feed cattle. Farmers provide food to all the people in the country. The pain was felt by all. Then the bushfires started, while the country was still in winter. The air was thin and dry. Farmers tried hard to put out the fire, but the wind became stronger. Fire spread out of control. 10 million hectares of land came under the fire. Firemen, volunteers, military, they all tried to rescue people and animals, and they tried to save properties. Sadly, many people lost their lives. 34 heroes. Firemen, volunteers, civilians passed away in this bushfire. Almost 1 billion animals died. Trees and houses burned to ashes. This devastation broke everyone's heart. Then came the cyclone. Another quote of devastation. But this time, we felt a sense of relief, a sense of hope. Cyclone brought strong winds, but also pouring rain. Rain, this is what we all were praying for. Rain put out the mega bushfire. Rivers started to flow. Dams were rising with water. Green shoots are bursting from burnt stems. Variety of seedlings are coming out of the soil. When we were still fighting with the bushfires, another havoc had started. Outbreak of the coronavirus in China. And now it's crawling into other countries as well. We still don't have medication for it. Scientists and doctors are working together to find a vaccine for the disease. So there is hope. A vaccine will come out soon. Today, I'm talking about how we are suffering right now. We are going through devastations. Also, there exists some glimpse of hope. Now let's take a look into the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Mahendranath Gupta, who is the author of the Gospel, he describes an incident where Sri Ramakrishna and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar were having conversation in the topic was on happiness and sorrow. I give a little introduction on Vidyasagar. So Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he was scholar, philosopher, educator, philanthropist. He was a lawyer as well. He brought reform in the society to uplift the status of widows. He helped poor children to get education. He helped anybody in need. He taught Sanskrit and philosophy, but he didn't teach religion. He used to tell his friends, let's do good work for all human beings, then others will follow us and the world will become heaven. Sri Ramakrishna and Vidyasagar, they both had high regards for each other. Ramakrishna, he liked to visit him. Once a devotee said, why do you want to meet him? He doesn't believe in God. What Ramakrishna said to him, if you see anywhere an instance of compassion as in Vidyasagar, know that it is due to the grace of God. That's how Thakur looked upon Vidyasagar. One day, going back to the incident where M has described that Ramakrishna and Vidyasagar, they were having conversation. So on happiness and sorrow. Eventually, they started on people suffering. Why has God created so much pain? Now Vidyasagar said, what is the use of calling on God? Think of the incident. And he is giving a portion of history to Ramakrishna. Think of the incident when Genghis Khan plundered a country, imprisoned almost 100,000 people. His commanders, meaning our commanders of his army, went to him and said, Your Majesty, who will feed them? It's a big trouble to keep them all with us. Equally dangerous if we release them. What shall we do? Genghis Khan said, what else can we do? Just kill them all. And they were ordered to be beheaded. After saying this history, Vidyasagar is saying to Thakur, didn't God see this massacre? He didn't stop it. He didn't help at all. If he is there, let him be. But I don't find any need of him. Nothing good has come to me from him. Ramakrishna calmly, he explained, is it possible to understand God's action and the purpose of his action? God creates, preserves, and dissolves all of this. How can we know why he dissolves? The aim of man's life is to acquire love for God. The rest of it, the Divine Mother knows. So when I read this portion of their discussion, Thakur and Vidyasagar, I thought sharing some logical diagram with you, what a logical conversation both had. Can you please show the next slide? So Vidyasagar's argument is there exists a horrendous moral evil. Example is Genghis Khan's massacre. Now, Almighty and omnipotent, omniscient, perfectly good being prevents occurrence of any horrendous moral evil. It will stop. But what happened? The massacre wasn't stopped. It wasn't prevented. So what he is saying, Vidyasagar, it means, it proves that Almighty, the omnipotent, omniscient, perfectly good being doesn't exist. That's why this is happening. Ramakrishna, what he explained, this logic is drawn within the finite human intellect. This blue rectangle, that's the area, finite area of human intellect. What human intellect can see? That evil act happening. Human intellect knows there is Almighty. Also, nature shows to us, we always see that there is creation, preservation, and dissolution. So Thakur is saying Almighty has this list of actions. It creates, preserves, and dissolves. One more thing, another fact which doesn't fit within human intellect, which is finite, and it goes beyond finite. It's in the infinite space. Motive of that action. What Thakur says, how can we know why he dissolves, why he destroys? And that remains in the infinity, which is beyond our understanding. What a beautiful explanation, the debate they had. So then Thakur continued. He said the aim of man's life is to achieve God, love for God. And he explains love for God is having purity in heart and compassion for all beings. So we should have compassion for all beings and help who is in need. Now from gospel we come back to our recent event that we are going through. As the cycle of nature continues, we had destruction. So after destruction, what comes again? Creation and preservation. We see ray of hope, such as green shoots bursting from burnt stems, the dry rivers starting to flow again. Here are some images of the hope. Now I would like to describe another event. After the series of natural calamities, we had another shocking and very sad news of domestic violence. The lives of 3 little children, their mother, their father, ended in a most horrific manner. So much of violence is happening in the society. When one loses control over one's own mind, awaiting evil grabs it and gives the power to ego, anger, envy. These are the diseases of the mind, causes of violence. Character building begins from childhood. Value education is needed in childhood. One must gain moral values and learn to control one's own mind. Swami Vivekananda, he took Ramakrishna's messages to the world. He taught what he had learned from Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna had said that knowledge which purifies the mind and heart alone is true knowledge. All else is only a negation of knowledge. Abhijit, next slide, please. And Vivekananda said, we want that education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. I conclude with Sri Ramakrishna's teaching that the aim of man's life is to have purity in heart and compassion for all beings. Pranam.